Excited to have you join us today for our Young Alumni Network webinar, Artist as a Brand. The USD Young Alumni Network is an official affinity group of the USD Alumni Association, dedicated to providing the professional development and social networking opportunities for USD alumni who graduated within the last 10 years and are under 35 years old. First, I would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us this afternoon. Before we begin, please be mindful that today's webinar is being recorded. Access to the replay of the webinar will be found at the USD Alumni website and the University of San Diego YouTube channel about 2 weeks from today. So if you need to step away from the webinar and are interested in viewing it at a later time, the archive broadcast will be posted soon. On your screen, there is a control panel with a chat area where you are able to ask questions. Questions are very welcomed, and Sonya Sparks is looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So please submit your questions and we'll answer as many as time allows. If you experience technical difficulties, please submit your concerns via the chat area, and we will attempt to resolve them as quickly as possible. Without further ado, I would like to introduce today's presenter. Sonya Sparks is from the class of 2005, and she is the owner and chief curator of Sparks Gallery in San Diego's historic Gaslamp district. At USD, she majored in business administration and minored in art. She worked as the lead information technology manager and CEO strategist for a small company for 8 years, social media, web development, and online marketing, before opening the Sparks Gallery. Welcome, Sonya. We now turn the time over to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm always glad to talk for USD because I had a great time my undergraduate program at USD. And I feel sometimes the art program is a little bit underrepresented at the school. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about, from a gallery standpoint, we are opening the Sparks Gallery this year in the Gaslamp Quarter. And we are going to be representing a lot of local artists in the space. So part of our mission statement is to connect with the local artists who are in school and at the university level as well. In part, that's because I sort of felt like that wasn't really used when I was a young artist or studying for the art program. And also, it's a great way to connect to our community as a whole and really present, San Diego as an art hub and an art community. So in doing that, there's really a lot of opportunities for the younger artists to branch out into our community, but you kind of have to start when you're a little bit younger in school to really get a leg up in the program, which is why we offer also an internship program at our gallery, which we've just refreshed the posting on the USD career portal. And so you can check that out there if you're an artist and you're looking to maybe connect for an internship program. And there are a lot of opportunities for internships in town, but they're sort of fleeting, so it's good to kind of have your eyes open and be looking at, while you're studying, and also maybe taking one of those opportunities for some upper division credits at the university to do an internship. So we offer that. And so the artist as a brand, it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, because when I was studying art, I didn't really feel like there was a way for me to launch myself into an art career coming out of college, and having a business degree was really sort of the way that I felt that I could accomplish, sort of a substantial career and make money out of college. So I decided to go into international business because I had a passion for international business, but at the same time, I still had this passion for the arts. So if that sort of speaks to you and you want to try and have a successful career as an artist, but you're not really sure, I really recommend at least taking a few business classes or trying to understand the business function of the side of the art world, which is actually, like any industry, it's very business oriented, which a lot of artists, when they're young, really don't seem to, I think, understand that about the art world. So let me move forward in the presentation. So what happens when you graduate, you're in college, there's a certain level of expectation for more conceptual work when you're in school. And the art teachers really don't always gear you towards the art world when you're graduating. What are galleries expecting from you, and which companies should you approach, and how do you get your name out there? So I wanted to address a couple of those things for this presentation. There's a photo of me. And so I wanted to start for online presence is a really big part of branding yourself as an artist. And there's so many areas of the online marketing sphere that I've investigated in my past careers. And also every day there's more opportunity coming online. Social media is a big part of that. So I wanted to then first address, the online presence portion of what I think would be a really good way to address, yourself as an artist and your presence in the online world. Coming from a gallery standpoint, really the website is a great place to start. When we are looking at new artists, or if you've submitted your work to the gallery, the website that you have really speaks to who you are. If you don't have a website, or it's really not working properly, if I try to access it, there's like a lot of music going on, or things are popping up. It's really, you have to pay attention to what you think your best face forward would be on your website. So not going too far into the art speak and making up words is also a great place to start, because gallerists are also people, and they just want to read it and understand who you are. And the more flashy you try to make it, sometimes it can backfire on you. So to really focus in on creating your website, if you have a class you can do in school, that's really beneficial, like a basic tech class where you can make a website is really helpful. WordPress is a great way to start as well. There's a lot of free templates out there, and they usually offer you a free domain name. But a lot of the time, I will search for the artist name in the domain name, the URL. So artistname.com is what I often type in, because that's very common as well. So having the domain name registered to your name is also a great place to start and start creating yourself as a brand. So when you're starting as an artist, usually it's your name that you create as your artist name, but some artists may create a pseudonym or something, like another name for themselves, like Banksy, or something like that, where you're sort of shielding your real name from your artwork. And that's okay as well, but when you're coming out of school, I think that just your name is sufficient. And then when you finish your website, another good thing to do is to do a Google search for your name, and then see what's coming up for you. So maybe there's another person who has your name and is also an artist, but they're in a different city. So you kind of want to differentiate yourself and make sure your webpage lists that you're an artist in San Diego or wherever you live, and then separate that out for when people are looking for you. They may not type in the word artist after your name. So that's another thing that I like to look for when I'm looking for artists, is I put in their name plus the word artist, because they haven't differentiated themselves enough. And if you really can do that at the beginning on your website and say, local artist of this medium in San Diego, it really helps when I'm looking you up and trying to figure out who you are and trying to research you as an artist. Social media is a huge aspect of the online presence, and that's where I think a lot of younger artists can really shine if they're starting to develop themselves. Uh, there's obviously Facebook, Twitter, but some other smaller ones that I think may not be so obvious. Tumblr and LinkedIn is actually very powerful. If you are in the business world, you may know about LinkedIn already, or other networking sites that are on a professional level. These are ways to connect with people in a professional way, but not really sort of explode your artwork all over their main pages and say, look at me, buy my work. It's really a great way to connect and say, hello, I'm a professional artist, or whatever your career is, and then say, a few things about yourself. So there's a lot of ways that you can really connect on social media, but I would advise you to really understand the platforms before you get into them and really do a little bit of research and see what you want to accomplish with those the social media accounts. Each
And
one
I
is a
just
little bit.
if I could interrupt for a minute, we do have an excellent webinar on our archive, which is social media in the workplace, that reviews a lot of these mediums and what medium might be best for which task or what thing you're doing. It's called Social Media in the Workplace, and it's an archived webinar and youtube.com/U of San Diego. So thanks for plugging that a little bit for us.
Yeah, I didn't even know you had that. I do want to check that out because it's there's so much to talk about. It really has to have its own, section because and it depends on the industry you're in as well. So if you're like, for instance, law firms, I've been told, have a very difficult time expressing themselves on social media because of the restrictions that they have for ethical guidelines. And there's other things to consider as an artist as well. Once you put your image online, you may want to really dig into the terms and conditions. There's been some questions on Instagram about whether or not they are using your image or utilizing it for other reasons. Once you put that out there, you have to understand that it's permanently online like anything else. So maybe you do like a detailed shot of your work instead, or if it's sculpture, maybe it's fine to share, but maybe not like a very high resolution photograph uh, without that knowledge that it's possible someone could take it and make a replica of it. So there's a lot going on in that regard. But I think that it's really valuable to have that social media presence as an artist, at least to show kind of your process, or maybe you have some videos of how you're creating your work, because every time you get out there and you're being seen by people, you can really gain followings and actually maybe create some sales through those social media accounts. So another thing I would recommend for your online presence would be to get a newsletter going out to you should be constantly obtaining new emails. Like you start with your family or your friends, and then you start working up, and building up your database of email addresses. So you can send out a regular newsletter saying, this is the newest project I'm working on, or maybe a new initiative. And every time you present yourself to your audience, you're creating a little piece of memory in their mind that they will remember you over and over again. And these are some of the techniques that we use when we're advertising for artists who we're representing in the gallery, is to always have a newsletter going out about the work that's going on. We utilize social media. We have all of the work on the website, like I've discussed as well. So you kind of doing a miniature version of what the gallery is doing will make it more enticing for the gallery because you're being seen in a lot of different venues. People know about you, and that will increase awareness of you and build up your brand awareness. And that also, press releases is a great way to sort of just describe accomplishments that you've gotten, or you've achieved. So if there's a new project that you're working on, like maybe a fundraising opportunity, then that's a great time to create a press release and also maybe send that information out in your newsletter and then maybe publish it on your social media at that point. So you kind of reproduce it over and over again, but you building different groups of people into your audiences. So social media will have their own sort of group of people, and then for your newsletter, you have friends and family and people you find interested in the artwork and in the art scene. And what else can I say about online marketing? There's quite a bit to do. There's a lot in the realm of search engine optimization that I think could probably use its own presentation as well. But just to touch upon that, the optimization is really the continuation of what I just discussed. So getting yourself out there in as many mediums as possible, and then seeing how you're doing when you Google your name or words that describe you into the search engine. So if you type John Doe artist into the search engine, like such as in Google, and you want to increase the number of listings that relate to you as an artist instead of maybe a different John Doe in a different state who's also an artist. And in doing those things that I just talked about, you can really increase the presence naturally, and you really don't need a lot of fancy techniques to do that, because if there's not that many people that are related to you, you really are going to start to naturally see yourself come forward in those search engine listings. So there is a lot you can do there, but I think that for these purposes and for smaller, sort of niche things like you as a particular artist in a particular city is really not going to need any special treatment. So I would recommend doing those, the press releases, the newsletter, social media, and then really focusing on your website. And also focusing on the website, I also want to point out that having an artist statement is really important, because it tells me who you are as an artist and it tells me what you're doing. And to select artists that we really want to back as a gallery, we want to make sure that they're creating consistently in a consistent style of art. So if you're all over the place, it's really going to be confusing unless there's maybe a central theme that's tying it together. But really, visually, there should be some consistency in the art. So if you do sculpture and you do painting and you do photography, there should be a central theme that is defining you as an artist. And I really encourage that at the university level, because that's not always a topic that the professors will address, is what you are as an artist, unless you're really, and sometimes you can achieve that. I don't know how it is now after a few years. I graduated a few years ago, but you want to consistently be making work that people can look at and say, oh, that's definitely John Doe's work, because, and there's a few reasons for that. Maybe the method of framing, maybe it's a topic, it's only black and white photography with a certain type of camera at a certain angle, or it's really defined by a stylistic brush stroke or something along those lines. So that really is an important part of it before you even you leave school and you are online and you're trying to market yourself as an artist. So I'm going to move on to...
I wanted to ask a one question. Do you think an artist today should be responsible for all of their own marketing, or do some artists outsource it to a trusted person to market their artwork? And can you comment on that at all?
Yeah, there are some art representatives and consultants that will market on your behalf. And that's always the challenge, is do you just create all your work and just focus on that and then outsource it to somebody who can handle it? It depends on where you're at and your resources, because you do have to pay those consultants to do the work for you. if you're part of a gallery, then they will be marketing on your behalf. So they take a cut of your work when they sell the work. Some galleries do it a little bit differently. Our gallery does the standard 50% commission. So the artist gets 50% of each sale, and the gallery gets the other 50. But there are some galleries that ask you to pay to put your work up. Maybe they take a smaller commission, but you have to pay as you're being shown in their space, which that's not what we're doing. And so there's there's a lot of ways that you can really be promoting yourself, but there are people who are going to charge for it. So like I said, it depends on who you are and where you're at with your, monetarily, how you can afford it. So as a younger artist, it's better to kind of learn some of these strategies and just do it on your own, because most of these things that I've discussed are all free. Social media is free. Newsletter, you can get a free account on MailChimp. It's totally free. The press releases are almost always free. There's some paid sites you can send them through, but there's a lot of free sites as well. So trying to learn these things yourself is really going to strengthen your ability to understand if the people you're paying later are going to be failing you in any way. So then they're not doing enough to promote you because you haven't seen any newsletters going out, you haven't seen anything going on social media, you're not seeing any people calling you or talking to you. So having that power to understand how it's done can really help you later if you're going to outsource it. But I think it's totally achievable when you're younger, and I think it's empowering as well.
Thank you. That's great.
So talking about local resources, there's not that many galleries in San Diego that are actively looking for local artists. Sometimes, you'll submit your portfolio and they'll be really interested in it, but a lot of the time they won't. So it's really a hit or miss situation with our local art scene. And a lot of artists travel away from San Diego to try and make a living. And so I encourage, as a younger artist, to reach out to other cities and other galleries and to research them before you do that. Trying to understand which galleries are similar to the work that you're creating is really valuable. So you can then find there's more potential for you to try and get into that gallery because the work they're already showing is very similar to the work that you're showing. And you want to sort of make note of their price ranges. If they're only showing a few people, maybe you want to talk to those artists, like call up the artist and say, I'm interested in applying to this gallery. What do you think of this gallery? Their, relationship with the galleries may be important to how you have a relationship with the gallery. So doing a lot of research and talking to galleries is really helpful before you actually submit your work, because they have a specific way of doing things. They're showing certain things. And if you don't have any understanding of that, it can become frustrating for the gallery, and they shut you out because you don't know anything about it, and you clearly haven't paid attention to what they're doing. And it's really a partnership that the gallery is trying to create. So yeah, that's something that I would really recommend. And you can even meet in person with the gallery, and that's also another way to really get your face in front of somebody, is to personally walk in and say, I would like to submit my work. Who do I talk to? Where do I submit? And it gives you the exact understanding of what the gallery needs and what they're looking for, and that way you're not just wasting your time and emailing and submitting to a black hole. So part of our mission is to help bridge the gap between the local universities and the art world after graduation. So the local resources that we can provide as a gallery in town is the Internship Program, which I mentioned earlier, The portfolio submission is available through our website. It's sparksgallery.com/submissions with an S at the end. And we also offer a storefront installation program, which allows some of the more installation-based and cerebral sort of type artists to create a installation or an interactive exhibit that is on the front of the store. So it's in the window facing the main street. We're on 6th Avenue in downtown. So the people that are in public domain are looking through the window and they can see this installation from a local artist who, maybe they don't necessarily want to sell their work, but they do like to do the installation because it evokes more complex understanding of artwork, and there's more conceptual reasons for why they would want to present a piece like that. And a lot of artists do that in school. So the transition between school and the outside world, if you're more in the installation conceptual world, there really is an opportunity for you, if you're that artist, to present a proposal for our storefront as well, which we would put in the store. And we also, we do regular events for like dialogues about the art, so an educational aspect that we're continuing from how you learn in the university to how people are creating work and the mediums that they use in the public sphere. So we'll have a seminar or panel discussion to discuss that, and it's helpful probably for people to attend those and other seminars in town where you can not only hear the panelists talk about their work, or if there's some representatives in the art world that are on the panel, so you can hear them talk about what they're learning about in the art world in San Diego, and maybe you can actually meet them in person. And these are small enough events that there really is a lot of networking and opportunity to chat with people. So I would encourage attendance of those sort of, small, tight-knit seminars and talk to people.
Sonya, where would they find that information about those events?
Well, for our purposes, we submit that when we talk about the program on social media, or we announce it in our website. But this could be at any gallery in town. It's just those are the kind of events that I think would be really beneficial. So if you're following a certain gallery in town that you think you would fit well into, or maybe there's a more conceptual space, there's a lot of different ones in town that I recommend. Art Produce is a good one. They're a nonprofit, so they have a lot of educational events. Helmuth Projects is a smaller gallery, but they do a lot of really great conceptual exhibits, and there's other talks that other galleries are doing. For instance, Thumbprint Gallery has there's like a periodic discussion on artists and San Diego art scene as well, which they also have a online version of that you can join and hear streaming live, or you can go in and physically be there and do some networking, which is, I think, a little bit better, because then you can talk to people directly and ask them one-on-one what's happening. And the more that you're personally engaging, the better. And so that's what I wanted to sort of talk about next, is that personal engagement, where you're personally trying to increase your brand and your presence in the art world. And that really is just, it comes down to just being present in a lot of the events, the major events in town. So in order to find those events, you can, like I said, subscribe to gallery newsletters or just keep your eyes open. Also, there's a great news publication that City Beat runs, that's the arts section. And they have a couple of great writers there, and they're really on top of the new events and new happenings that are going on in San Diego in the art world. So when they announce an event, or maybe if there's a particular seminar going on at, say, like the Museum of Contemporary Art, then you can maybe personally attend those events, and then that's part of your personal engagement that is debatably probably the most important of all these stages that I'm going to be talking about. So, and I recommend if you're going to any event that you really just have a goal in mind, like I want to meet one new person in the museum world and one new person in the nonprofit realm. And nobody is going to be a bad connection for you in the art world because they're all interconnected here, and they're always going to be able to recommend you to somebody else if you really need something or you want to ask them. But you don't want to ask anybody for anything when you first meet them. You just want to work on your relationship with them and introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm this person. I'm a new artist in town. I'm really interested in this medium, and then get to know them. And slowly over time, you're going to start building up this engagement that people know who you are by your face. You're talking to all of these people at different seminars, and you're really building up yourself and your presence. And that's something that we're really drawn to as a gallery. Is when I see a lot of people over and over again, I know that they're really invested in this. They want to be an artist. They're really interested in the community and talking about the arts. And if I see them over and over again, then I find that they're a valuable person that I want to communicate with over time. And I feel that they're reliable, that I can back them as an artist, and I don't think that they're, not going to show up or whatever because they're making the time to attend these events and make connections and be present. And another thing is to really look the part too. So if you're it's one thing if you're like an underground style artist and you have a hip hop theme going on, you can kind of do like more relaxed wear. But if you're presenting yourself in the fine arts realm and you want to be in a fine arts gallery, you really do need to dress appropriately. And that's really just professional attire and keeping yourself in that mindset of I'm a professional person. Because San Diego is very laid back, very open community. So sometimes you forget about that, and when you're talking with other people, it can feel very open and engaging. But they are looking for things like that. They do want to know if you're a professional. So, if in doubt, I would say dress better than you feel like you think you need to dress. So, was there any questions about the personal engagement that you would like me to address too?
No, I think you answered a lot, so we can move on to the next slide.
Okay, so that's just my advice section, which is to know who you are as an artist. First of all, what category your art falls under. So defining yourself as an artist that's on you, and that's really important. But really do some soul searching and decide what kind of galleries that you would best fit into based on the kind of work they sell and who you think would buy your work. So understanding who you are as an artist will also help you understand who's going to buy your work and who your customer is going to be, your collector. So if you're making really, really intensive, labor-intensive, and really expensive metal work, then your customer is going to have a lot of money. So if you don't want to sell to people who are really going to have to spend a lot of money, then you may want to adjust the materials that you use or maybe the process that you're using to create your work and still create that concept that you want to present. If you're selling the work on your own, if you're going out and doing fairs or you're talking to people and you're trying to sell your own work, becoming your own salesperson is really important. So you would need to know how to price your work, how to market your work, and show your work effectively. And that's a really difficult thing to do. So that's why most artists try to work with other venues and galleries, because it's really complicated to encompass all of that into your own small little business. And some artists can handle it. If you have the energy and you're like a crazy A-type personality and you really want to tackle everything, then I would say go for it. Um, and then when you're presenting to galleries, they can already see the work that you've put into it and that you're on top of your sales and your pricing. Um, but when you partner with any gallery, you just need to be aware of who they are, do research on how they are working in the community, and know that they take about 50% commission on each piece of artwork. So factoring in your material costs and your your time invested is going to be part, and also what the gallery takes is part of the commission. So you don't want to overprice it, but you also don't want to underprice it, and so you're not making enough money to subsist as an artist. Um, so research is really important, and you really want to know what opportunities are out there before you try to engage with them, in my opinion, because it would be a lot more effective in that way. So you can throw a lot of things at the wall to see if they stick, but if you really try to understand where you're going and what you need to do to be in a certain place, it's going to really help you get there faster. Let's see what else I was going to talk about. I'm referring to my notes. Yeah, and when you're talking to a gallery, it really is an interview. It may not seem like it, but it's the same as if you're interviewing for any other job. So when you're dressing the part and you're respectable and you're polite and you shake hands and you send a thank you letter afterwards, like your standard interview procedure, that goes a long way also with a gallery, because a lot of artists are they're not really oriented in that mindset. They're really focused on, I sent my work in, I hope they like it. But to really follow up and create that cycle that is really important for the interview process would, I think, just be really beneficial too. Um, and just to chat with people and call people up and say hi. Maybe you find a person in your age range that you want to connect with, or someone who's in a similar group. Like, for instance, you're in a similar networking group from like an honor society, and then you talk to them and you say, this is who I am, let's grab some coffee, and just building those relationships, so when you really do want them to come and see your work or be present for you or maybe buy something, then it's an easy way to connect with them and say, I have this going on, take a look. The relationships are really the important part, and the networking is a huge part of that. So I think that's probably my biggest section. I would say the most emphasis I would put on it would be the this one here, the personal engagement, because it's really just about you as a person, and you're selling yourself as a person and your artwork. So your artwork can be fantastic, or it could be not so great and it's still okay, but it's really who you are that's going to sell your work. And if people love you, if they think that you're a fantastic person, they're going to want to buy something of yours, whether or not your brush technique is, the best in the world, or, your loose glazing techniques aren't really up to par yet. Maybe you're still developing that as an artist. But if you have a great personality and your face is forward and you're connecting with people, I think that's really a huge part of it. It's going to outshine any small thing that maybe you feel like you're lacking in with your technical skill, or your portfolio. And of course, you always want to be creating and making new art at the same time. so you can develop yourself over time as an artist. Maybe you sort of try a little bit different things, like maybe you go into a slightly different way of processing your film, or you try different angles, or instead of portraiture, you try a different thing, or sculpture, you start to transition from clay to metal. So it could be that mechanical shift of medium, or it could be a conceptual shift as well. But you want to make sure that as a brand, when you look at it as a whole, it really still makes sense together. So you don't want to really branch out crazy far into different, dimensions of space and time. You really want to keep it similar so that someone, when they look at your piece, they go, "Oh, I can see that that's John Doe's work for sure," because, I still see that thread of consistency throughout the work. So,
Sonia, we're about at 12:40 right now, so we have, probably another 10 or 15 minutes for you to share your last pieces of advice, and then we'll probably wrap up.
yeah, I noticed I wasn't clicking through the slides very well. This was the slide on the online presence, just so that you can see it here with a snapshot of everything that I talked about. Website, CV, artist statement. Those should all be on the website. The online tools are listed here for the social media and the newsletter. The local organizations, galleries, a lot of research. And don't be afraid to branch out to other cities as well. You can start local and then maybe branch out and see what is a best fit for you. Yeah, that's in the personal engagement. I've talked about that as well. Advice. Yeah, so the last thing I would really recommend then is to stay in touch with your professors and really use those USD connections that you make, because I've personally found that a lot of them are very, very valuable to connect to old USD professors, to connect to people that you met from other industries. Maybe you have a career shift later and you're doing something slightly different, and now you have all these opportunities to talk to all these other people that you were in school with, or people that you met through school. And you feel free to contact me as well if you have questions. We are fellow USD alums, so you can reach out to me. My email address is at the bottom there, sonya@sparksgallery.com. And consider that your first connection, and we can see how we can maybe help, launch you in a certain way, or to recommend you to certain places where you would be, a good fit for certain places as well.
Much for sharing about that. We are going to close now. I'd like to thank the Young Alumni Network Programming Committee, and also extend a special vote of thanks of gratitude to our presenter, Sonya. Please join us for some upcoming events. Later this week, we have a Boston Alumni Happy Hour, a happy hour in Tampa, Florida, and also a luncheon in Fort Lauderdale. We have many other events happening throughout the nation. Please check out our event calendar. No matter where you are a Torero for life. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.